What screams I lost the argument? Trying to focus on side points of yours that don't really have anything to do with the main point as a means of diversion. Or when they successfully rebut one of your supporting arguments, e.g., a bad analogy, and treat it as a total victory, even though they still haven't addressed your core argument. This is why I no longer use analogies. There is no perfect analogy. They are meant to help people see things in a different way. People who aren't arguing in good faith don't care about that. You can never win an argument against someone whose goal is to misunderstand you. This is quite possibly one of the top 5 excellent comments I have seen on the internet, ever. When they start responding with "who asked," even though they started it. No one asked for your opinion. Good, but you're still gonna hear it. I like this. Simple but effective. When they go completely off topic. Well, I don't like your username. Well, I don't like your mom. I do. I too like this guy's mom. I guess I'm just a terrible mother. Are you quoting my mom? Mom. Comrade. I knew I had a long lost brother. I guess you guys have a sister too. We got the same damn mom. When they just start yelling shit like "look at you. You know so much. Smart ass bitch. You know this is why your ex cheated. You're insufferable." And loudly banging things. Stomping. etc. I think you should stay away from that person. Agreed. That's horrible. My dildos would never treat anyone like that. Oddly specific username is indeed checking out perfectly somehow. When you're told that's what they want you to believe. Bonus points for a not well defined they. The government. Big government. Deep state. When personal attacking starts. Enjoy your ban. Apostrophe. Some of these mods are fucking ridiculous. This happened to me on r/PewDiePie submission. Some mod accused me of brigading. I downvoted a dude because he was saying something homophobic and racist and had like 180 downvotes and got a permanent ban. When I asked why, I didn't get an answer for more than 100 days. And then mod was just saying the same shit over and over again without any explanation or proof. Fuck mods, man. I posted on r/funny and got perma-banned for reposting. It wasn't a repost and haven't had a reply from the mods in months. The post was doing quite well too. A few weeks ago I got my account suspended for trying to circumvent the ban in r/funny. I only have one Reddit account and haven't visited r/funny since the ban. I submitted a report and got my account unsuspended. Whatever. You're salty. Pretty much any reference to salt. Yes. If your only rebuttal is "oh yeah, well, you're a cribby," you've already lost the argument. There's also circumstances that leave you no choice. I've had to argue with someone who never addressed my points and made snide sarcastic responses consistently. I just called him a fucking brat and gave up because he was goading me into roasting his ass. I also hate because you can't answer the question, or I'm just not going to entertain silliness. It's difficult to win an argument against a very intelligent person. It's impossible to win an argument against a complete idiot. Moving the goalposts and whataboutisms when someone has to try and change what an argument is about to defend it. They more often than not have lost that argument. What's the difference between a whataboutism and pointing out hypocrisy? Genuine question, as I've always had trouble telling them apart. I have a right to my opinion. Of course you do. And usually at this point in the argument no one has said otherwise. But that doesn't mean your opinion is supported by evidence. Similarly, people tend to confuse being legally in the clear with being justified more broadly. I remember arguing with a friend that a particular movement was stupid. And he replied, "Well, the same right that allows you to criticize them allows them to do it." And it's like, yeah, of course they have the right to do it. That doesn't make it a smart thing to do. Or when somebody says they have a right to an opinion, but it turns out their opinion is really a fact, that is not true. Edit. I have already clarified below that I typed this out quickly and immediately realized it wasn't a good way to say what I meant. But I specifically mean people who hide behind "well, that's just my opinion" when spreading objectively and verifiably false information. My point seems to have been sufficiently conveyed for most people who understand what I was going for here. I mean, it gets again to the legal versus moral thing. You have a legal right to believe things that aren't true, but it's also not a great way for society to function. #WHEN you start replying like this. #YO you are wrong AAAAAAAAA. #no you are wrong AHHHHH. No you. #SHUT. When the ad hominem attacks begin, nothing says I'm out of reasonable options better than attacking somebody for their profile picture lol. Hippie. Green thing. You make my heart sing. You make everything seem groovy. Whatever. I don't really care anyway. Apostrophe. I sometimes throw that sentiment in, even if I win the argument just to make it clear that it's just petty discussion. Bringing up old arguments that have nothing to do with the current one lol edit. Lady here. Understand that there are people of all genders who don't know how to have a calm, productive discussion that remains on topic. Even if you disagree, just give the person time to say their piece and afterwards both of you can come to a resolution that is on topic. Forgive people because that is something that you would want from someone else. Don't keep a scoreboard of rights and wrongs. I got into a very long argument with my boss/brother before we parted ways. I brought up things from 5 years ago but all regarding the job and issues that we're building. He brought up some of the same, but also one personal thing about his wife and I that literally had nothing to do about what was going on. It's when I knew he was grasping at straw and that I was in the right street the time. You had an affair with your brother's wife, didn't you? ? Lol no. I just did something, foot and mouth, and made her cry. I apologized for it heavily, got her flowers etc. It was like 5 to 6 years ago, and when he brought it up I was shocked to say the least. Edit. You're all hilarious. Edit 2. For those non-English speaking folk, putting your foot in your mouth is an expression for saying something that's stupid and gets you in trouble. Edit 3. It's not foot and mouth disease or whatever haha. Edit 4. It is a saying, but I'm shocked how many have never heard of it. You put a foot in her mouth. Or did you put a foot in your own mouth in front of her? Directing towards some other topic. When someone points out that you ate the last sausage and they know because there's half a sausage sticking out of your mouth, you've given up the game by saying, yeah, well what about the time you ate all the corn chips? Separate argument, my dude, but at a certain point, it's gotta be relevant. Like, if a family member keeps eating basically all of the food in parties, then one time you eat one donut too much in another party, and he berates you. You gotta fucking point out that he keeps eating way too much food in other parties and has no reason to be complaining about you. That's my biggest gripe with people shouting whataboutism all the time. Sometimes yeah, but if someone is a hypocrite it can be totally relevant to point out. I hate this as well. It's mostly just people misunderstanding what fallacies actually are, as they do in many cases. Their line of thinking is they use the phrase "what about?" So that means I can automatically assume they don't have a point and don't have to answer. It can be fine to point out someone's hypocrisy, depending on the context and framing of the argument, or if you're simply naming examples to support your point. The issue of a whataboutism arises when it's clearly a deflection and someone is trying to catch you in an unrelated point that doesn't actually strengthen their original argument. The phrase "what about" gets treated as if it's an automatic loss lol. Writing off reliable sources of information that they don't like. I pulled out Merriam-Webster dictionary in my argument and apparently that's not a valid source for the definition of a word. I'll never understand the amount of willful ignorance one must possess to just write off anything they don't like so they can continue to believe in bullshit. It makes zero sense, and you gain nothing from it other than being an idiot that people like to avoid talking to. Whatever lmayo. I know some people who literally can't be argued with as they just don't have common sense. If it's an argument that just doesn't matter and I don't feel like spending half an hour on the subject, then sure, agree to disagree. You might lose the argument, but that doesn't prove you wrong. And that goes for plenty of other comments here. Make a judgment for every situation. If it's not worth the time or verbal fight, just concede. That's what I usually do. Agree. I've had discussions with people making bad faith arguments or completely missing or misunderstanding every point. At a certain point you just have to say whatever you say, dude, and move on with your life. You're not going to change their mind today. I usually get into online arguments with people in video games where nobody knows what I look like IRL. Usually, They'll resort to calling a kid or a 9-year-old or whatever when I disagree with them. For such an unoriginal comeback. They've already lost. So your argument is so terrible a 9-year-old can see what's wrong with it. I'm all for being the better person and seeing the good in people. But if they are unwilling to listen, it's not worth the effort explaining. Quick edit to everyone who wants to steal this. Please do. I hope you get some good use out of it. But use it wisely. So your argument is so terrible a 9-year-old can see what's wrong with it stealing that. When I become an evil overlord, one of my advisors will be an average 5-year-old. I won't move forward with any plans until I can explain it to this child. I will also ask the 5-year-old if they see any major problems in my plans and figure out a solution for anything they find. What happens when they turn 6? When they start the enjoy your negative downvotes logic. Alternately, bring on the downvotes. Downvoting me just proves I'm right. Apostrophe. When the insults start appearing. Not true. I can call you a dumbass and also provide valid points in the argument. Yeah. That's true. Yeah. That's true dumbass. FDFY. Resorting to variations of no you. Who screams while speaking. I can't even think about this right now. I'm still mad about the last time you did something wrong. A refusal to answer direct questions that are clearly designed to demonstrate the flaw in your reasoning. The only reason you have to refuse to answer a question is if you know that the answer is going to lead you to admit that you're wrong. And if you can't admit that you're wrong, then you're no longer interested in meaningful discussion. Of course, online if someone admits being wrong, it's like finding a two-headed albino unicorn plumber, which technically might be a bicorn then, but okay. When they tell you to do your research. Someone said this to my brother recently when he corrected them on some coronavirus stuff. His response was, well, I'm doing my postdoc in virology. I work in the lab of one of the people on the vaccine approval board. And I've been in this field for over 15 years. So I've done a bit of research. Of course there was no response to that. That's the wrong kind of research. I bet your brother hasn't seen these YouTube videos. Ad hominems and strawman tactics. Oh, and slapping/punching them with the words now look what you made me do. That's a big loss. It also makes you an idiot emo. Do the research. Like. No. You're the one who made the argument. The burden of proof is on you. This tactic is almost always used by people who value their fees over actual data. Anti-vaxxers. Flat earthers. People who think getting a raise into another tax bracket would cause them to earn less money, etc. Agreed. I hate the argument style where people don't actually make an assertion, but just talk in vague circles about doing your own research or how stuff doesn't make sense. I have a friend who argues this way. He does shit like sending screen caps of data from the CDC website and saying things like, do you really think that adds up? HMM. Interesting. Seriously, man. What exactly are you alleging? And what's your evidence? It's impossible to attack an argument that you never actually clearly make. How stuff doesn't make sense. Could humans actually be sentient rocks? I don't know. I'm just asking questions. Apostrophe. There's a lot out there, but here are some of my favorites. 1. Start using personal insults instead of actually trying back up their argument. 2. Looking through your profile for something to make fun of you. 4. 3. Trying to change the subject to something similar, but also different. 4. You're just mad. 5. Kid, you're like 10. You don't know shit. 6. Start cursing you out. 7. Start using racial/religious/homophobic slurs. 8. If it's political, they'll call you things like libtard or trumptard. 9. One of my personal favorites. Fuck Jowdit. Added a few to the list. When they start saying inaccurate stuff. You can't win against wrong. You can. With a fact check. If it's a good faith mistake. Usually it's when the wrong sources come out I get leery. I understand checking comment histories if you suspect a bad faith argument. But using what you find as ammunition for a cheap gotcha is just tragic. Really? Because that's exactly the kind of thing a checks casual UK member would say. If you are new to TattleTale TV, please subscribe. We have new videos every day. Stay tuned for more coming up next.